Time does not always move forward. Sometimes it circles, sometimes it waits, and sometimes it follows one man for 10 long years, refusing to let him go home. This is not a story about monsters or gods, at least not in the way you were taught. This is a story about a man who survives a war, only to discover that survival is not the same as return. A man who wins glory, intelligence, and favor, yet loses something quieter, something harder to name. Imagine standing on the shore after victory. The fires of Troy have gone cold. The war is over. Other kings sail home and reclaim their lives. But for one man, the journey does not end. It stretches. It delays. It erodes. Why? Why does the road home take 10 years? Why does every step forward seem to cost him something human? And what happens when time changes everything except the man trapped inside it? The Odyssey is often remembered for its spectacle. Storms, sirens, cyclopes. But those are not its deepest wounds. Its true power lies in waiting, in distance, in the slow realization that the longer you are gone, the harder it becomes to return as the person you once were. Odysseus is not the strongest hero of Greece. He is not the fastest. He is not even the most honorable. He is clever, and cleverness, as this story will show us, has a price. As the years pass, his crew disappears. His name fades into rumor. His home becomes a memory shaped by longing rather than truth. And somewhere along the way, a dangerous question begins to form. One that every traveler, every survivor, every person who has been away too long eventually faces. What if home no longer exists the way you remember it? And worse, what if you no longer exist the way home remembers you? This is why this story refuses to die. Why artists, poets, and now modern filmmakers return to it again and again, not because of the adventure, but because of the silence between destinations, because of the cost of time. Tonight, we begin not with a monster, but with a man standing at the edge of departure, unaware that the journey ahead will not test his strength, but his identity. And once he leaves, nothing, including himself, will remain untouched. Before the journey stretched into years, before the sea learned his name, before home became a question instead of a place, Odysseus was already a man shaped by contradiction. He was born a king, but not the kind history easily celebrates. Ithaca was small, rocky, forgettable beside the great kingdoms of Greece. No towering walls like Troy, no vast armies like Mycenae, no divine blood whispered in every corridor. Odysseus ruled a land that taught him early. Power would never be handed to him. It would have to be earned or taken through the mind. And that is where his story truly begins. From the start, Odysseus was not the strongest man in the room. He knew it. Others trained their bodies. He trained his thinking. Where warriors rushed forward, Odysseus paused. Where kings demanded loyalty through fear, he learned to persuade, to deceive, to wait. People admired him for this. They also feared him, because intelligence, when paired with pride, becomes something dangerous. Even before the Trojan War, Odysseus was known not for courage, but for strategy. He could talk his way into alliances and out of danger. He could see 10 moves ahead, while others focused only on the next strike. He understood something fundamental about people. Most battles are decided long before swords are drawn, and he liked that understanding. When the call to war came, when Helen was taken and the kings of Greece gathered, Odysseus did not rush to join them. In fact, he tried to avoid the war entirely. He feigned madness, plowed salt into his fields, pretended to be broken. Think about that for a moment. The man, remember, for endurance and cunning, tried first to stay home, not out of cowardice, but because he could already see the cost. He had a wife, a newborn son, a kingdom that depended on his presence. Odysseus understood something many heroes do not. Wars rarely end where they begin. But cleverness has a way of trapping itself. His deception was uncovered. The choice was made for him. And once Odysseus committed to the war, he committed fully, not as a soldier, but as an architect of victory. At Troy, his mind became a weapon. He devised ambushes, negotiated alliances, and when brute force failed, it was Odysseus who conceived the idea that would end the war, not with strength but with illusion. The Trojan horse was not an act of bravery. It was an act of belief in human weakness, in curiosity, in pride. And it worked. Troy fell. The war ended. Songs would be sung about clever Odysseus, the man who outthought an empire. But something subtle happened in that moment, something history often ignores. Success confirmed his flaw, because when intelligence saves you once, you begin to trust it absolutely. Odysseus left Troy not humbled by destruction, but validated. His mind had beaten fate. His cleverness had conquered walls no army could breach. And without realizing it, he began to believe that we could solve anything, even the will of gods, even the passage of time. This belief follows him onto the sea. He does not leave Troy quietly. He leaves confident, victorious, certain that whatever lies ahead can be managed, negotiated, or outsmarted. He has survived war. What could a journey home possibly demand that he has not already paid? But the sea does not care about reputation, and time does not reward confidence. Odysseus believes the journey will test his leadership, his cleverness, his adaptability. What he does not yet understand is that the journey will test something far more fragile. It will test whether intelligence, without humility, can survive loss, whether pride can endure patience, whether a man can remain himself when the world refuses to let him return. Because from this point forward, every delay will be connected, directly or indirectly, to the same quiet seed planted long before the ships ever left Troy, the belief that he can always outthink consequence. And as the sails fill with wind and Ithaca fades into memory, Odysseus has no idea that the war behind him was the easier part. If this story is already pulling you in, if you feel the weight of what's coming, take a moment to subscribe to Epic History Stories. These are not just tales of the past, but journeys into what it has always meant to be human. Because in the next part, the journey truly begins. And every step away from home will cost more than Odysseus is prepared to lose. The war was over. The walls of Troy lay in ruins. The smoke of battle had faded into memory, and yet the world felt no lighter. Odysseus had won. Greece had won. But victory, as he would soon discover, is rarely the end of anything. Ships were loaded, oars dipped into the sea, and men thought their journey home would be simple. A return to hearth and family, to laughter, to the comforts they had left behind. They were wrong. From the very first mile beyond Troy, the road home revealed itself to be a different kind of war. The sea was not a path to safety. It was a teacher, indifferent and patient. Waves rose as if to whisper, "You are not yet ready. You are not yet free." Winds shifted, currents deceived, and the calm he expected became a distant, fleeting illusion. Loss began quietly. First, a sailor falls ill. Then another is lost to the careless misstep of a storm. Each death leaves a subtle void, a hole in the strength of the crew, a reminder that survival is never absolute. Odysseus feels each loss personally, though he cannot show it. A leader must be steady, even when the world is unraveling beneath him. Mistakes emerge too, born not of recklessness, but of human limitation. Decisions that seem clever at Troy falter in the unrelenting expanse of the sea. Choices ripple outward, consequences multiplying like the endless waves. And in these early failures, a seed of doubt takes root, not in his mind, but in the hearts of those who follow him. And then comes the first, quiet, piercing realization. Home may not be reachable, not by will alone, not by cunning, not even by courage. The familiar shores of Ithaca, the house he remembers, the wife and child he has longed to see, these may exist only in memory. And memory is fragile. Time is cruel. And the sea forgets nothing. Odysseus is clever, yes, but cleverness is not a shield against isolation, against delay, against the erosion of certainty. Each mile traveled is a mile of uncertainty. Each sunrise is a reminder that the world continues without pause, and he is caught somewhere between past glory and the unknown future. Even the smallest choices carry weight. A hesitation here, a misjudgment there, and the line between hope and despair becomes razor thin. He begins to understand that the journey is teaching him something the war never could, that the greatest battles are often fought within, not against armies or walls. And yet, despite the growing unease, there is determination. Odysseus cannot return home if he does not move forward. Each day at sea is a negotiation with fate itself, a delicate balance of skill, courage, and resilience. He learns to read the wind and the currents, to listen for omens, to watch the faces of men who trust him with their lives. And in these lessons, small as they may be, he discovers a fragile strength. The journey, no matter how cruel, is not without guidance. But guidance is not guaranteed, and the horizon he chases does not promise the comfort of the past. Instead, it whispers of more trials, of obstacles yet unseen, of choices that will test not just his mind, but his soul. As night falls and the stars spread over an endless ocean, Odysseus looks out and feels the weight of his ambition. He understands, at last, that the war behind him was only the beginning, that the path to home is lined not with certainty, but with questions, shadows, and the slow, unyielding passage of time. If you're captivated by the weight of this journey, by the tension and mystery that refuses to let go, make sure to subscribe to Epic History Stories. There are many more layers to this tale, and each mile brings us closer to revelations that will haunt Odysseus, and perhaps all of us, long after the sun rises. The sea has only begun to test him, and the lessons of endurance, loss, and unseen consequence are just beginning to unfold. And in the next part, the temptations and trials that will shape him and threaten everything he loves await on the horizon. The sea, once a path, now becomes a mirror that reflects not just waves and clouds, but the man himself. Odysseus begins to notice how time, patient and relentless, shapes him more than any storm or enemy ever could. Temptation appears quietly at first, a lush island with calm waters, sweet fruit, and soft breezes. Men laugh, rest, and forget. A pause, a reprieve. How easy it would be to stay, to surrender purpose for comfort, to let days melt into weeks, and weeks into months. Odysseus feels it too. The allure of ease, the whisper of serenity, a life without struggle, without responsibility, without the gnawing pressure of returning home. For a moment, he wonders, perhaps this is what the gods intended. Perhaps the journey is not meant to be endured, but enjoyed. But even as he contemplates yielding, a deeper voice within reminds him who he is. A king, a husband, a father, or at least he was And that identity, fragile as it now feels, is slipping. Every day spent in temptation, in delay, erodes it. He begins to question himself. Who am I if I never return? If my son grows without me, if my kingdom thrives or fails in my absence, who will I be when I finally arrive? Time becomes a silent enemy. It does not chase. It does not roar. It moves slowly, insidiously, shaping the world while he stands still. Each sunrise, each star-strewn night, marks him not as a conqueror of obstacles, but as a man losing fragment of himself, unnoticed by those around him. His men, too, feel it. Their voices carry hints of despair, whispers of longing, sometimes murmurs of resentment. Odysseus knows that leadership is not simply about cleverness or courage. It is about bearing the collective weight of human frailty while keeping the vision alive. And vision, he realizes, is no longer a guarantee. It is a fragile flame threatened by every passing moment. The island, the calm, the ease, they all tempt him. And for the first time, Odysseus realizes survival alone is not enough. Even cleverness, even strategy, cannot conquer the erosion of purpose. The journey is not just a physical trial. It is a battle against forgetting, against the slow surrender of the self to comfort and distraction. And yet, the temptation is never straightforward. It does not shout or demand. It offers subtly, gently, like the soft lapping of waves. And every time Odysseus resists, he feels the toll it takes. Doubt creeps in, patience frays, and the man who once believed in absolute control begins to sense the limits of his own power. Time does not simply measure the journey. It tests it. Every delay, every pause, every indulgence shapes him, transforms him. And Odysseus, who once outwitted armies and empires, discovers a humbling truth. Some forces cannot be outthought. Some enemies cannot be outmaneuvered. Some trials can only be endured. As night falls and the horizon fades to darkness, Odysseus gazes into the infinite waters. He feels the pull of home, distant yet vital, and the weight of his own passing years. The journey is no longer about survival alone. It is about identity, about remembering who he was and who he must remain even as the world shifts beneath him. If you've been captivated by the tension, the temptations, and the quiet battles that Odysseus faces, don't forget to subscribe to Epic History Stories. Each part of this journey reveals more about the cost of time, the fragility of self, and the trials that await every human force to confront the passage of years. The next phase awaits, where the trials intensify, the choices become unbearable, and every step forward tests not only his cleverness, but the very essence of who Odysseus is. The wind carries scents he once knew, but the air itself seems foreign. Ithaca, his home, waits across the horizon, yet it does not call to him as it once did. 10 years at sea have changed more than the land. They have changed him. Odysseus is returning, but not as the man who left. He watches from afar, heart tight, as life has moved without him. The familiar paths are still there, but the people have grown, aged, learned. Faces he loved have shifted in ways memory cannot fully capture. And for the first time, he feels the ache of being a stranger in his own world. The palace that once offered warmth now feels like a stage where he is a spectator rather than a participant. Every smile he sees, every embrace he imagines, reminds him of the distance time has placed between who he was and who he must now be. He belongs nowhere, not completely to the past, nor fully to the present. The psychological cost of survival becomes tangible. He has endured storms, monsters, and gods, but the hardest battle is the one within. Each decision, each cunning plan, each act of survival has taken a toll. The man who once believed he could outthink fate now wonders if fate has been shaping him all along, and yet he cannot retreat. The weight of responsibility pulls him forward. The memory of his wife, of his son, of a kingdom left vulnerable, drives him onward. But the closer he gets, the more he realizes the journey has altered not just the land he left behind, but the man who left it. Odysseus must learn to navigate a home that no longer fits the contours of his memory. He must confront the unsettling truth that belonging is not given. It is earned, sometimes after years of absence, sometimes after unimaginable trials. He must reconcile the man he has become with the life he left behind. The isolation of the long journey, the loss of companions, the constant testing of mind and spirit. They have forged him, yes, but they have also hollowed him. And in that hollow space, he finds both clarity and fear. He knows what must be done, yet he senses that the world he returns to may not welcome the man who survived everything. If the tension of watching without belonging intrigues you, and if the cost of survival resonates, now is the perfect time to subscribe to Epic History Stories. These are not just tales of old. They are reflections on the human condition, lessons in endurance, and reminders that time can transform even the strongest of heroes. Ahead lies the final stretch, where Odysseus must confront not just the consequences of the journey, but the truths about himself he has avoided for too long. The return will not be easy, and the final choices will test every part of him that remains human. At last, the shores of Ithaca rise from the horizon. The journey is ending. Yet Odysseus knows that arrival is not the same as peace. The man who left the kingdom 10 years ago is not the man who steps onto its soil now. Time has changed him. The sea has changed him, and the weight of loss has carved its mark deep into his mind. Inside the palace, life has continued without him. Faces he loved now bear expressions of impatience, of quiet resentment. Suitors occupy his home, feasting on his wealth, plotting against the family he left behind. They have grown bold in his absence, believing that no one remains to challenge them. And Odysseus knows they have underestimated him. But this is not a tale of simple triumph. This is a story of justice entangled with rage, of restoration that tastes of blood. Each step he takes toward the palace is measured, careful, yet every beat of his heart drums with a warning. The return will not be clean. He moves with precision, every choice deliberate. Cunning, once a tool for survival, now becomes a weapon. Each confrontation tests not just his skill, but his restraint. How much anger can a man carry before it consumes him? How much vengeance can be justified before it becomes something darker? The suitors, oblivious to the storm about to descend, continue their revelry. Odysseus watches, silent and patient, the rage simmering beneath a massive calm. This is not a moment of celebration. This is a reckoning, a war of cunning, courage, and moral uncertainty. When the confrontation comes, it is swift, brutal, and unflinching. Every strike, every act of justice, carries the weight of 10 years of absence, 10 years of watching, 10 years of knowing the cost of survival. And yet, even as he reclaims his home, a question lingers. Is his restoration, or is it the birth of something darker? Odysseus does not answer that question. He cannot. The palace is quiet again. The threat is gone. His family remains. And yet, the price of the return is clear. The man who comes home victorious is not entirely the same man who left. His survival demanded cunning, endurance, and sacrifice, and those same qualities have left scars that will never fully fade. The tale of Odysseus rarely speaks of this truth. History prefers the story of the clever hero, the triumphant king. But the uncomfortable ending, the one people often ignore, is this: homecoming is not always a relief. Sometimes it is a mirror reflecting everything lost along the way, every choice made, every life altered, and the victory, though celebrated, carries a weight that even the strongest cannot discard. If you follow the journey so far, you've witnessed more than a tale of adventure. You've seen the price of pride, the burden of cleverness, and the human cost of survival. Don't forget to subscribe to Epic History Stories, so you won't miss the final reflections, where we uncover why the Odyssey still haunts us today, and why these lessons resonate far beyond Ithaca's shores. In the next and final part, we reflect on the story's meaning, the lessons hidden beneath the battles and the blood, and why the Odyssey endures, not as myth, but as a timeless mirror of a human experience. Even after the battle is over, even after the palace is reclaimed, even after the suitors have fallen, the story does not end. The Odyssey lingers, not in the noise of war, not in the cleverness of Odysseus, but in the quiet spaces between, the spaces of loss, of time, of identity. We are drawn to it because it asks a question that is timeless and intimate. What becomes of a person who survives everything, only to discover that survival is not enough? Odysseus survived storms, monsters, and gods, yet the greatest struggle was not against the world outside, but against the erosion of himself. Modern storytellers return to this tale again and again because it mirrors the human experience in every age. We face journeys that stretch beyond the horizon, challenges that test our patience, our pride, and our perception of who we are. The Odyssey resonates because it reminds us that the journey itself often shapes us more than the destination ever could. Time is relentless. It changes friends, families, and fortunes. It alters memory and reshapes reality. And yet, Odysseus endures as a reminder that identity is not fixed. It is forged in motion, in choice, in the courage to continue even when the path is uncertain. This story fits our age perfectly because we too navigate a world of displacement, of waiting, of unexpected detours. We struggle to hold on to what matters, to maintain who we are amid forces beyond our control. The Odyssey is not just an ancient tale. It is a mirror reflecting the tension between longing and reality, between hope and patience, between the self we remember and the self we are becoming. And perhaps that is why it continues to haunt us, not because of monsters or gods, but because it shows us what it truly means to be human, to endure, to change, to hope, and to return. Even when everything familiar has shifted, even when the world is no longer as we remember it. If you've been captivated by this journey through time, identity, and the human spirit, don't forget to subscribe to Epic History Stories. There are countless more tales waiting, stories that challenge, inspire, and remind us of the depths of history and the truths about ourselves. The Odyssey is finished, yet its echo remains, and that echo carries a lesson for every one of us. The journey shapes the soul more than the destination ever will.